All right, good morning, folks. Sheepdog Smokey here, and class is in session. This is the kind of video I really kind of want to get moved towards. This is actually very close to a lesson that I have taught and would, again, were I teaching secondary social studies in the high school system here around me. As I've said before, social studies, psychology, sociology, social psychology, government, economics, history, geography. Those are the social sciences. That is social studies. So this is, and while not a full lesson, because it would involve question and answer, it would involve book examples and so much more, this is a very pared down version of an actual economics lecture. Before we get in, please remember to subscribe. That way you're part of the giveaway at 500, 1,000, and 1,500 subscribers. So now let's go on and dive right in. So what brought this on? Really, it's multiple people over the last several days complaining about the Republican bill from the Senate, which they all claim, which is a falsehood, that it only addresses corporations. Now, even if that were the case, were this a corporate stimulus, corporates receiving a stimulus keep people working. They're able to help their people by giving them raises or giving them a bonus. They're able to maintain their equipment, buy new equipment, and so on. But that's not the case. This is not a corporate stimulus. It does include $1,200 for every single American taxpayer of 18 or over, $1,200 for every couple who files married or jointly. Okay, I messed up there. It's $1,200 per single person, or $2,400 per couple who files jointly. Sorry, my bad. If I remember right, it also included $500 per child worker who does have a Social Security number. It included many other things, but those are the two that I'm focusing on. The first for this lesson, the second to prove that it's a lie, that it's corporate only. But let's look at Cogsworth Cogs. Yes, I'm showing my age, going to the Jetsons. Before we get into any of this, I do want to stress these are made up numbers, made up company. Everything is made up. I don't have any numbers on any actual company, so I hate that I have to say this, but I do, because if I don't, somebody's going to come by and say, well, those percentages are wrong, and I'm going to nip that in the bud. But let's look at a business. Let's say they have a net worth of $50 million. And the tweet that set me off on this was, why do we need to give bailouts to people worth millions or billions? Because they have those millions, they can just use that. Well, a company worth $50 million probably has about 10 to 20% of that, 5 to 10 million, in liquid assets. Now, those are going to pay property taxes, state taxes, going to pay their employees, keep the lights on, many, many other things, keep the water running, keep the heat going with gas. So when you look at a $50 million company, you don't have $50 million cash to hand at any one time to use. So let's go with this as the breakdown. They have real estate worth $10 million. They have an inventory worth $2.5 million. They have their machinery worth $5 million. They have other assets, that being chairs and desks and coffee tables, and water coolers and coffee makers, worth about $100,000. They do have a fleet of vehicles worth $1 million. And they have stock worth, we're going to say, $29.4 million, and a cash-to-hand availability of $1 million. If my math is right, that adds up to $50 million. So this is basically saying we don't want you to lower your stock price and kill the market so that you can have cash to hand. These are also not bailouts. These are not handouts. These are not grants. These are loans. They are interest-free, meaning if you get a $50 million loan from the government, you owe them $50 million. This is different than going to Chase Manhattan Bank and asking for $50 million, where after interest you owe much more. These are loans to companies to keep them afloat. Okay? A loan to American Airlines would ensure that they keep their planes in working order. They keep their reservations office running. They keep their people paid. When all is said and done, they owe that money back to the government on a schedule. So, Economics 101 in this scenario proves that this is not a corporate bailout. This is not a corporations only stimulus. Now, I will admit there's a lot of pork in this thing that I don't want there. If I was in charge of writing it, it would literally be probably 2 pages long. It would outline the amount of loans available and what companies may not do with those loans, such as buying their own stock or giving bonuses to their executives. This loan is to keep their business solvent. That's it. It would outline the schedule of repayment, and that's it. It would also outline the amount going to each single American taxpayer over the age of 18, each married filing jointly taxed couple over the age of 18 both, and, if needed, what's going to child workers with a Social Security number. There should be nothing else in this, because those 2 things will keep the economy going. It will ensure workers who are out of work have the money they need to eat. It will ensure workers who are not out of work but are off because their company's not operating have the money to eat. I'll admit, if I get it, it's going to be used to make sure my parents have enough food and other supplies. Even though they would receive their stimulus, mine would go to them as well. I might put a tank of gas in my truck. But that's the point of the taxpayer part of the stimulus plan. Looking at the other aspects of this, the U.S. Postal Service is being included to cancel their debt. The U.S. Postal Service is not a government job. It is considered a civil service job, but that does not mean you are a government employee. You're close to it, kind of like a government-employed civilian on the military base. But honestly, the U.S. Postal Service is outdated. I would be very happy to take my mailbox down, put up a little placard in front of my house that has an arrow pointing at where I want deliveries to be made by Amazon, UPS, FedEx, or whoever else. I don't really care to receive letters. Can you imagine the amount of money we'd save if the government alone quit sending things out on paper? You can send things out electronically, very easy. Okay? You can, through agreements with other companies, send out something that says, here is your link to the census. On that, include a phone number. If you are unable to complete this online, please call this toll-free number. But we shouldn't be bailing out a failing industry that really doesn't serve a purpose. On the flip side of that coin, airlines, at least some of the airline companies, are actually essential. I worked for a major American flight company, airline company, for a couple of years. Worked for a couple of major American hotel companies for a couple of years. Hotels are very close to being essential because you may have a need for places for people to go. Okay, when I worked for the hotel in very North Texas, there was an ice storm that hit that crippled DFW. This is not the one where Chick-fil-A in Denton was roaming the highway on foot passing out food. That was a couple of years later. But this one, we actually had people on 4x4s, local residents, police, and fire, ferrying people from their cars to our hotel. We weren't gouging, and we weren't giving away free rooms. We were charging, but we were charging the absolute bare minimum. Meaning, what does it cost to have the heat and air, whatever, running in that room for a day? That's what we charged. It was, I think it was like $40 a night. And we were a 5-star hotel. We were literally telling people, and if someone says, I can't pay, we weren't turning them away. But we weren't just offering everything free. And we put people up, and they stayed there, and when the ice was no longer falling, and the police showed up in a regular car, we started ferrying people back to their cars. The police were making sure they could get going, and they got on their way. So hotels do serve a purpose outside of business and leisure travel. That's for another time. Airlines. If you look at just package and parcel post delivery, I've actually been kicked off a flight because it weighed too much because there was mail on board. I've seen many people book flights carrying an organ that has to get to Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Dallas, Miami on a certain schedule. These people are placed front row, first class if it exists. If it's Southwest, they don't. But they're placed front row aisle seat so that the second that air bridge is hooked up, they're off that plane. And people are told, don't get up. We're not going to let you out until this organ has cleared the jet bridge. Airlines are essential. Now, we should not be just throwing money at them because they do make a profit. You look at American Airlines, Delta, Continental, Southwest. Is Continental still operating? I don't know. But you look at any airline, they make a profit. They make a lot of profit. They're not making that profit now, and we may need a patient to be flown somewhere. And you can't always depend on CareFlight or military to be available with a jet primed and ready to take off and send someone where they need to go. If you're in LA and you have an organ that needs to get to NYC fast, you can go to LAX or Orange County or any other airport, and you can pretty much find a jet that can be ready by the time you get there. If you're at Cedars-Sinai and you need to fly to New York, by the time you get from Cedars-Sinai to LAX, that jet is waiting at the air bridge. As soon as you're buckled in, that flight controller is telling that aircraft, take off. The military is good. CareFlight is good. But they don't have the equipment that private airlines do. And private airlines, if they're told to do this, they do it. They might be compensated for fuel or what have you. Or if they delay a flight to let you be front row aisle seat, they're making a profit off that flight, just not off of you. There are other companies, such as Amazon, which is delivering baby food, baby formula, pet food, toilet paper, paper towels, groceries to people quarantined in their home. I realize Jeff Bezos is not real popular right now. Man's worth a lot of money. I realize Amazon is not real popular right now. Worth a lot of money, and there's a lot of rumors going around. This is not about that. Amazon is providing a very needed service right now. My own parents ordered toilet paper before all the craziness hit from Amazon. We've also ordered a couple of things that will mean my grandmother is able to communicate with us from Amazon. We have other things that friends of ours are ordering. Baby formula, actual groceries, other supplies, not t-shirts and movies and all that. These are actually things they need right now from Amazon. Amazon is requesting a lot of contactless pickup. You know, tell us where to set it, we'll knock on your door and we'll walk away, then you can open your door and get it so that I don't make you sick and you don't make me sick. I have no problem with that. Hell, I got no problem with putting a table on my porch so Pizza Hut can deliver a pizza if I want to order it. I can tell them, leave it on the black table by the door, knock twice and walk away. I'll count to 20 and come out. They're going to do that. They're going to get their money and their tip, and I'm going to get a pizza if I want to order. I've got a lot of food in the fridge over there. I'm not going to be doing that. But that is a service. You know, there's a lot of people who didn't have food that they could just be able to live on for a couple of weeks. I have a friend of mine who works for a local Mexican restaurant. I got a text message from him yesterday about the whole Great American Cookout or whatever it was yesterday. And I mean, it's Taco Tuesday. So you know what? Yeah, on lunch, I drove in. I went through the drive-thru and I got my taco platter. That's the first time I've actually eaten any type of food I didn't prepare in about 2 weeks. Because even before this, I was taking my lunch. It's cheaper. I want to save money and I eat a little healthier. But that is me deciding to patronize a business that's not making near as much money as they usually do. They're working on smaller crews because they don't have to have all their normal staff. That's fine, and people will do that. But people can't just go fly somewhere to keep Delta or Southwest or American in business. But the government may still need them to transport an organ from JFK to LAX, or from McCormick to Orchard, showing my time in the airlines, remembering airport names. But they can't do that if they don't have money to keep their planes working, fueled, and with a pilot. They're going to pay the money back. What's not needed is the Kennedy Arts Center, or the Rockefeller Arts Center, which one ever it is, or the NEA, or Planned Parenthood, or a congressional pay raise. I mean, this is bull, plain and simple, and it should be called out. You want to pass a coronavirus stimulus bill, everything in it should relate to coronavirus. It should be for these corporate loans. Within 4 weeks of the end of quarantine and return to normal business, loan repayment will begin on this schedule. It should be things like that. It should not include anything that is not directly and 100% related to coronavirus. And we've got congresspeople and senators on both sides of the political aisle playing politics and saying, well, we can fund this, and we can do this, and we can do this, and it's the coronavirus stimulus. Nobody's going to vote no on that. I actually do support Rand Paul when he says, I want to see every part of this bill. What is going where and how much? And if he says, wait a minute, it's $2 trillion, and 40% of that is going to TV stations and art centers, Planned Parenthood, and a raise for us? No. Get rid of that and I'll vote for it. That man is very pragmatic. There have been a lot of things I don't agree with him on. But on this one, I do. So far, I don't know how he's voted. I haven't looked yet. But I know that if something is not good, includes all that pork and crap. I mean, if a bill is so pork-laden that Kermit the Frog would try to date it, then it's a bad bill. And Rand Paul has no qualms calling it out. I don't know what else there is to say about this. The biggest thing I would tell you right now, you got to keep a level head. Okay, don't listen to the talking heads, the George Conways and the Stephanie Rules and the Acostas and Salises and Scarboroughs and Coopers and all of them. Don't even listen to Fox. I haven't watched any of them in over a week. I get little snippets on YouTube. If, Tucker was interviewing someone, I wanted to see the interview. That's what I've been watching, and that's it. I'm actually going to the Senate and House websites, and I'm pulling up these bills, and I'm reading them. I'm looking at Twitter, and when someone says something monumentally stupid, like Trump's trying to bail out companies and leave everybody else in a lurch, I call them out. Because Donald Trump has called for a stimulus bill that will directly put money into the hands of American workers. Part of that is going to involve no interest loans to companies. That way companies can continue paying their workers. Part of it will be the little stimulus, $1,200 or $2,400, directly to the taxpayer. I don't understand how people can actually believe they can twist crap. I mean, for crying out loud, the idiots who took aquarium cleaner have major network journalists blaming Donald Trump because he said a drug that is administered by doctors only was showing promise and therefore should be researched. And because someone says, well, this name sounds like it, I'm sorry, if he said take chloroquine because your doctor tells you to, and you say, I'm going to go down to the pet store and I'm going to get chloroquine phosphate, which says aquarium cleaner on it, and I'm going to take that, you're an utter moron. You should not ingest anything bought from a pet store. I don't even trust their little snacks they have for me. I go there to buy my dog food. Or I go there to buy bedding for my chickens. That's it. If I want a soda, I go to the grocery store or a restaurant. I don't buy anything at a pet store and ingest it. But we have journalists who are blaming Donald Trump because some idiot didn't do what the packaging says, which is don't ingest this. And they can halfway twist something to sound like it might have been said. And you wonder why I don't like hardly anybody on TV today. All right, I've talked long enough on this. We've gone longer than I like to go on videos, but I've found lately that I'm going that far on most of them. Let me know what you think. Just remain civil. Okay, like I said in a video not too long ago, if one of these idiot journalists shows up and starts haranguing me about how I'm calling him an idiot for being one, I'm not going to be vulgar, but I'll be bluntly honest. But when it's us having a conversation, we can be civil because we're not some glorified idiot on CNN who says whatever the hell they want and then expects to get away with it. So be civil. We can disagree and still be adult. They can't. As always, please remember to share the video to expand the conversation and help grow the channel. Again, I'm doing the giveaway at 500, 1,000, and 1,500 subscribers for 1, 2, and 3 books respectively. At the first 2 levels, your choices are Fahrenheit 451, Brave New World, and 1984. I had to think for a minute. I'm not even going to ask you for shipping. I'm going to send them to you. You do need to be able to read English because my local shops don't carry them in other languages yet. But I'm doing this, 1, to grow the channel, and because these books need to be read widely. That said, again, please like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications, all that jazz. Until next time, everyone, have a wonderful day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay smart.